listening to Driving Law, a podcast by Kyla about all things related to the rules of the road.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Driving Law. I am Kyla at Acumen Law Corporation, and with me, adjusting his sweater, is Paul Doroshenko. He's going to be staring at himself in the camera the whole podcast, aren't you?
I might be looking at my sweater. It looks like there's like flecks of stuff on it.
That's the pattern.
I know, I can see that it's the pattern, but it still looks like there's...
That's not flecks of stuff.
Doesn't matter.
The dog hair.
In the grand scope of things, no one will care about my sweater when the earth is sucked into the sun.
Well, there you go. Problem solved. Earth sucked into the sun. We have nothing to worry about.
Solves all our problems.
Yeah. If the earth gets sucked into the sun, do I have to pay off my mortgage?
No, of course not.
Sweet.
There's no bank.
I feel like the bank would survive somehow. Okay. All right. We have a lot to talk about this week.
Yeah, you were called out to me and said, what are we talking about? There's only one topic I can think of. And then you started listing 16 topics.
Started listing off things. Yeah, that's what I do. I forget that I've been sending you things all week. Like this very interesting case involving someone who got a traffic ticket for, we talked about this case earlier, got a traffic ticket for distracted driving, paid the ticket, tried to appeal their guilty plea on the basis that they didn't understand the points and they really needed their license because they were a rideshare driver.
What's the point of the points?
What's the point of the points? Punishment.
Yes.
And yeah, that's sort of what the court had.
But now it's appealed.
But now he sought leave to appeal. So remember, on leave to appeal for a traffic ticket, it's weird that you have like so few rights when it comes to appealing a BC Supreme Court decision on traffic tickets. You have to seek leave to appeal your dismissal of a summary conviction appeal, which means you have to show that there is a merit-worthy argument and an error of law. So the error...
Before you can get an appeal.
Yeah. And this guy actually had like two lawyers representing him, one lawyer, one articled student at the Court of Appeal, which, for the first time managed to decide now's the time to get a lawyer. So his legal question, his issue of law was that the proper scope of the legally relevant collateral consequences in assessing the validity of a guilty plea. Basically, whether points are legally relevant collateral consequences.
Yes.
And then also that the judge failed to consider whether evidence of mandatory loss of livelihood flowing directly from a conviction may render a guilty plea uninformed and result in a miscarriage of justice, and that the appeal judge improperly collapsed an evidentiary deficiency into a legal conclusion by noting that other than his unsworn affidavit with no exhibits, there was no evidence of Uber or Lyft's policies to terminate somebody based on the number of points.
I think we talked about that.
We did talk about this case, yeah.
We talked about that aspect of it.
Oh, yeah. That he failed to adduce the
Didn't have
evidence. Yeah.
Evidence.
And then the second, and those are questions of law. So he gets over that hurdle. But then the second issue is one of importance. Is the case of broad importance? Because if it's only important to one person, the Court of Appeal is not going to hear the case.
That's their decision.
That's the law,
apparently. Apparently, but you would think that a person would be entitled to get justice.
You would think.
Anyway.
Yeah.
We have rules against it.
So the Crown submitted and the court agreed that there was no issue of broad importance because there was no uncertainty in the law in relation to whether penalty points were a legally relevant consequence, which I don't know that I agree with. They referred to their case called Dancho, which has currently on reserve, but is going to resolve the question of whether the points are a legally relevant consequence. So there's a decision pending from the Court of Appeal, and that's the biggest thing that we take out of this decision. I always like to take a nugget out of a loser.
Yes.
The Court of Appeal is considering this issue in a different case.
Yes.
So maybe they will find points are a legally relevant consequence. Although...
Then this person gets no remedy.
Is it not odd? Is it not odd that they denied leave on this one if there's already a case that's going to decide the issue where they've determined it did have broad importance, is that not them tipping their hat to which way they might rule?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if
I mean, I've cynically suggested here a couple of times already that this person ends up denied their hearing. But if we're never going to succeed, if they're telling us that this is how they're already going to rule, then what the hell? There's no injustice.
Yeah. But I don't know if Justice Meyer, who wrote it's a one-judge leave application, right? So I don't know if he was sitting on that panel or not. But we'll see. We'll see about whether these state-imposed collateral consequences are legally relevant consequences. And then the third thing that the court has to consider on a leave application is whether there's sufficient merit in the proposed appeal. And the court says, no, there's no merit in the proposed appeal, citing one of my cases that I lost in BC Supreme Court for a similar
There you go.
driver. How cute. I'm in the Court of Appeal again, losing again.
You always put up a good fight, and I'm always persuaded. Otherwise, you wouldn't be there
No.
most of the time, because if you can't get past the Paul hurdle, you usually won't persuade yourself that it's...
Well, unless I've won at the lower court, and then the Crown's appealing, and then I just have to keep
You have no
fight up.
choice.
You have no choice. So yeah, in the merit question, the court says it would be unworkable if the Crown, the police, the court are all required to advise people of the possible impacts of the imposition of demerit points and what they might have on their income earning capacity by means of their employer or contractor's policies or otherwise. And so there is no possibility of success because there's not really that he didn't know what his employer's policies were and the state didn't inform him of his employer's policies is not an issue of merit.
But I think that was my point earlier on at the earlier appeal, I believe, in the lower court, was that like you have to reasonably inform yourself. You can't rely on the fact that you didn't ask a single damn question beforehand, that you made absolutely no investigation, that you just relied on the lack of knowledge of everything to enter to pay that ticket.
That's what the court said in the case that I lost. So there you go. You do have to take some steps to try and inform yourself.
Well, I mean, the collateral consequences, there's the very specific consequences, which are there right before you. The collateral consequences you would think would be something you would turn your mind to at least. Now, if there was some collateral consequence that could be completely not expected or unanticipated, I think that would be different. But all of these are reasonable things to conclude are likely to happen. And if you don't turn your mind to it or take some steps to investigate it, I mean...
Yeah. And then finally, the court considers whether the appeal is in the interest of justice. And considering he's already failed on 2 of the 4 branches of the test, it doesn't actually matter. But the court does say it is not in the interest of justice to grant leave. There's nothing to suggest the judge made any errors of law, and the proposed appeal does not raise any issue of general importance. I note it and emphasize this appeal is not one in which exceptional circumstances exist, justifying the granting of leave. So... sorry to you, Mr. Yu Chen. But
nice try, though.
Nice try. And that's all that really matters, is that he tried. Okay, next issue that we have to talk about is a study that I heard about on TikTok. But it was from the New York Times TikTok, so it's not just some person on TikTok talking. You and I had a disagreement about this yesterday.
Yeah, I know. So now we can talk about it.
Now we can have a disagreement about it for other people to enjoy. And it's about how car manufacturers, U.S. car manufacturers, are sexist.
Well, I think it was suggesting all car manufacturers are, but the problem lasted longer in the U.S.
Yeah.
And so that is essentially that crash test dummies. I don't know. There's another term for them. They don't like to call them dummies anymore. But does
it hurt their feelings?
Maybe it hurts the feelings of dummies. They're scared they're going to end up put in cars and used for collision reconstruction or whatever. But these fake humans that they put in to be able to study, research crash tests historically were all men-shaped, and they were designed using the idea of a man.
That was
And
like a 5'10", 175-pound man or something.
sure. And so the TikTok suggested that this is fundamentally discriminatory, and the connection that was made was that it was discriminatory because women are more likely to die
Mhm.
in a collision than men, and
Get
significantly.
much more serious injuries.
Yes, and that is certainly something that is worth considering and unpacking. And the question is this all just sexism at play, and is this the physical manifestation of it in the numbers that you can see? And that is what was implied in the TikTok.
Yes. Now, you and I had a disagreement because you said that it wouldn't actually change anything about the statistics if they made women crash test dummies.
Well, no, that's not what I said.
But you
Because
said because
no,
women are more fragile.
that's not what I said. What I said was they now use women crash test dummies, and they have for a number of years. I know they have in Europe for a number of years. I'm not sure, but I would imagine that they have in the States. I know Ford, back when Ford was associated with Volvo, took all of their crash test research from Volvo. Ford owned Volvo for a while. Now it's owned by Cherry Auto Group. But in Europe, they've had children-sized ones. They've had various female-sized ones. They've had obese people versions of them. They've tried them with all sorts of different shapes and sizes of humans. But my point was that they are doing everything they possibly can to ensure that accidents are survivable and to minimize the injury to the occupants. And what happens is, okay, more men live now as a result because they've come up with so many improvements, and more women live now, but it just continues to go up at sort of the same level. The survivability goes up at the same level. And it's fundamentally not necessarily something that they can address on a gender issue unless you're going to try and make it less safe for men, because what they're doing is they're taking everything that they know to try and make it as safe as possible for everybody in the car.
I think I said, when you said, unless you're going to make it less safe for men, I was like, well, would we really be worse off if more men died? Haven't you read the Epstein files?
I can't defend men these days.
Yeah.
I'm not. I,
Well,
it's like Jesus. I'm creeped out.
is there not a way? Is there not a way that you could like press a button in a car and it would move the position of the airbags or the amount of inflation that the airbag does based on your gender? Like, could they not
They already
program
do it on the
things?
basis of weight and all sorts of things. Like, it's doing all these calculations based on the person that's in the seat, the location that the seat is relative to the steering wheel. These are all things that they've worked into it. I mean, one of the things is that women tend to sit a lot closer to the steering wheel than men do,
Well,
and that's
maybe they
probably one of the reasons. So they've designed them thinking about that
they
to
could
try and minimize that.
have a button that would bring the pedals closer.
They do that.
I don't have that.
Ford has it. I don't know if they still have it, but they did put that in their cars for a number of years for those reasons. In recognition of this, trying to deal with it. Yeah, years ago, there was like over 23 years ago, there was a collision right in front of my house, and it was brutal. It was a 13-year-old driving a stolen car, and he collided with another vehicle. In the back seat were twin brother and sister. And it was right there in front of my house, and the sister died. And you're thinking to yourself that these are so similar people. And then you're thinking to yourself, they're both in the back seat, and it could just be the way the collision unfolded and how people were seated, or all sorts of different things. But then maybe it's exactly this issue. Maybe it was exactly this issue, that it's the cars are just not as safe for women as men. I fully think this is worthy of the exploration of it. But at the same time, I think they're doing everything they can, the manufacturers who are actually concerned about it. I mean, Volvo is definitely, other manufacturers certainly are, this is a key concern for them all the time. But yeah.
I mean, it's probably less of a concern for the male-dominated car manufacturing industry than it would be if the car manufacturing industry was female-dominated. I bet they would find a way to equalize the risk.
I would love to see that studied, borne out, and happening, but I don't know. Should we go on to our sponsor now, or should we move on to our...
Our sponsor? We have a sponsor?
Sure, we have a sponsor.
Yeah. Am I getting a check here?
Hang on. Big Banana, 50 milliliters. This is 99 proof alcohol. You can find it in many private liquor stores in BC. It's our sponsor today because it happens to be the distillery that we own. Deep Blue Distilleries in Richmond, British Columbia. Bang on, Big Banana. Want to bang? Bang on.
I feel like our podcast is going to get a little explicit warning. Thanks.
Maybe, I don't know.
We're going to cancel this sponsorship if we get labeled explicit.
Other exciting flavors include...
All right, let's move on to our ridiculous driver of the week, because our ridiculous driver of the week is actually also a substantive topic.
Well, yeah, and it's a British Columbia one too. So
yes, so this is
a British Columbia one that could be from Florida.
Yeah, could be from Florida. In fact, we've seen this from the United States before, but this is a woman who was allegedly, according to the BC Highway Patrol, tooling down the highway in her Tesla, fully asleep. And the Tesla was in its self-driving mode and doing the driving for her, so she didn't have to pay attention, allegedly. Now, she's claimed she wasn't asleep. She was just, not paying attention.
The thing about the ridiculous driver is that many of us have seen this over the course of the years. I've told you about the guy reading a book, driving his Tesla on the East-West Connector. The other people I've seen who appear to be asleep, people on their cell phones like crazy, right outside here in their Teslas.
You're banned from looking out the window.
I'm actually banned from looking out the window. Kyla has banned me from looking out the window because every time I get so angry.
Comes and stands in the window and he's like, oh, another person on their cell phone. Oh my God, another person is like...
Well, I'm trying to talk to you about something, and then I get distracted because I see the person on their cell phone with tinted windows on their cell phone, and I think, is there any goddamn enforcement here in this province or not?
Is there any meaning to life?
Meanwhile, we defend these tickets, but that's a separate issue. I mean...
Well, there should be some goddamn enforcement then.
Well, yeah. Where's the police? I know
some motivation, actually, Paul. What is it?
Some police officer. It's got nothing to do with wanting these people as clients necessarily. I would just like to see some respect for the law because it's a safety issue.
Sure.
And when people are flagrant and they disregard the law, it encourages others to disregard the law. And so I really don't like to see that.
Yeah. Okay. So this whole Tesla incident, this woman was issued a ticket, not for... there's an offense in the Motor Vehicle Act for operating a level 3 vehicle on the roadway. Level 3 under the SAE, I don't know what that stands for.
Society of American Engineers.
Probably, yeah.
That's my guess.
Automated driving levels that are referentially incorporated to some degree in our Motor Vehicle Act. But if you operate a vehicle that is that level on the roadway, you can get a ticket. It's illegal to operate that vehicle. But it is also an offense to drive without due care and attention.
Yes.
And the police ticketed her under driving without due care and attention, which sparked this big debate because people don't seem to understand some fine but important distinctions in our law.
Lay it out, because I know you did this in a TikTok and you had people...
and a Twitter battle that ended up with me muting a bunch of...
So there are the people out there who believe that Kyla is anti-cycle. And so they are like this virulent group of people who want to attack you, thinking that you are against bicycles.
Yeah.
And so when you post something on there, suddenly it's that. There's the other group, which are the guys who are in Teslas. They think that they are some sort of high-tech, living in a high-tech world. So there's the guys on the bike. They're often the same guys, probably. And then there's the guys in the Tesla. Then there's the guys on the motorcycles who dress like Batman.
I don't have any beef with them yet.
Yeah.
Yet.
No, there was a couple of years ago, there was somebody who was very upset with you about noise from motorcycles.
Oh, okay. Well, sorry. I don't write the law. I don't amend the law. I don't have any power over the law. So, sorry. Anyway, okay. So the debate was all these Tesla bros collectively. We're saying a Tesla's not a level 3 vehicle as defined by the SAE. And yes, that is true. But that doesn't mean that you don't have to pay attention to your driving if you're using the existing self-driving features, any driving features. If you put your cruise control on and you stop paying attention, you are breaking the law. Like, it doesn't matter. So, I
Well,
mean,
there's all these people who modified their Teslas or done like slight
yeah,
modifications
yeah.
in order to be able to drive it in this way.
Well,
There was somebody who had figured out some way to connect a bottle of water to the steering wheel so it would shake the wheel enough that the car would think that you had your hands on the wheel.
it's all just programming, right? Like, you could hack it, presumably.
I don't know about that.
Well, I don't know. Anyway,
If you're saying me, I know
no, you could
certainly
not.
I could not.
The other thing about our legislation, though, and this is where I got into this debate on Twitter that frustrated me to the point of just muting everybody because they were not willing to understand or listen, was that our legislation does not prohibit level 3 vehicles alone. It also prohibits operating a vehicle that is capable of operating at a level consistent with the definition of level 3 in the SAE. So SAE doesn't classify a Tesla as that, as a consumer vehicle. But that doesn't matter because the levels are not just based on their classifications, but they're not just based on that. They're based on the capability of the vehicle. So a level 3 is when you are not driving, you're using automated features, and you must supervise when the vehicle requests you must drive. And so if you have a Tesla that's giving you a warning every once in a while to tap the steering wheel to make sure you're still there, that is, whether it's classified by the
level
FAE or
2,
not,
it's operating as a level 3.
capable of operating at level 3. And that's the distinction our legislature is capable of operating, is those words that they keep overlooking. They're like, but it's not a level 3 vehicle. Great. But it performs the functions of a level 3 vehicle. It probably is a level 3 vehicle, and I'm sure there's probably some,
Some government employees right now are looking at it, trying to figure out what do we do about this? They made some slight change to the programming.
Yeah.
And now it can do this. And is it a level 3? Should we reclassify this thing? The Society of Automotive Engineers has not, or whatever, American Engineers has not issued a new directive on Musk's change to the software.
Yeah. So at level 2, which is the highest permissible level, you are driving. Even if your feet are off the pedals and you're not steering, you're still driving. The vehicle requires you to constantly supervise the support features like your adaptive cruise control and lane departure warnings. You must steer, brake, or accelerate as needed to maintain safety, meaning the vehicle is not maintaining the safety for you. You must do it as needed. Also that the features provide steering and brake acceleration to support the driver. And examples like lane centering and adaptive cruise control being used at the same time. Right? It's going to keep you in your center of your lane, and it's going to keep you a certain distance from the vehicle in front of you. Most modern vehicles do that now.
Yeah.
That's not, but you shouldn't be able to take a nap.
Exactly. And if you are, it's operating as a level 3.
Yes. So I thought it very interesting, though, as I was reading the SAE's little infographic, that they gave the example of the features providing steering and brake acceleration to support the driver, because in my mind, it's very similar to the same debate that we have, and interesting that you brought up the cycling community, because now I'm going to piss off both at once, that we have about e-bikes, where people say, oh, it's an e-bike when it's completely electrical rather than the electric motor supporting the pedaling.
So I'm going to bring up another ridiculous driver now because I think we've
Okay.
exhausted this. I was on the viaduct the other day, and I was passed by somebody on a scooter, and I was driving at 60 kilometers an hour. And the scooter had to be driving at 70 kilometers.
Like a Vespa-style scooter?
No, a stand-on scooter.
Oh.
This is another issue of enforcement. And so we can see, for example, with the way that Teslas are being operated and the government attempting to figure out where they are they a level 2 or a level 3? Are they relying on somebody else's determination for the classification? And then we see these, and more, and summertime's coming, more and more of these electric operated devices, bicycles, monowheels, scooters that are so non-compliant
Yeah.
like far away non-compliant. And really, without some dedicated enforcement team, there is we will just continue to see it, and dangerous, as you can imagine. This wasn't the viaduct. This was on the terminal viaduct.
Oh,
So
terminal one,
the
yeah.
one, starting at the Home Depot and ending up on
So you were
Clark.
speeding.
It's 50 zone, and I was
You said you were
probably
going
going 60. I think I was, but the scooter passed me
That's terrifying.
and continued on, and I was just thinking, like, how easy, dumb ways to die. So many
Yep.
dumb ways to die.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, that's our podcast. If you would like to yell at me about what I know about electric vehicles, go right ahead. But actually, this is an issue of statutory interpretation. And if you would like to talk to us about a legitimate driving law related issue that you need help with, you can find us online at vancouvercriminallaw.com or give us a call at 604-685-8889 and tune in next week for another exciting episode of Driving Law.